Hi folks, this is Denny Lee again from Ipsa Omaha Barbecue. I'm going to do a pork butt tonight and kind of walk you through that process. One thing that occurred to me from my last video, I haven't introduced you to my pit puppy. And this is Minnie. Her real name is Misdemeanor, but we call her Minnie for short. She went to the spa today, so she's got a nice fabric collar here. And she's not the friendliest of sorts, but she's the designated pit puppy. As I said, I'm going to be doing a pork butt tonight for one of our sponsors of our barbecue team. Got an 18-pound pork butt I'm going to do. That's going to take an hour and a half to 2 hours per pound. So it's probably going to take about 26 to 30 hours to cook. I'm going to put it on tonight at about 11 o'clock or midnight here in Omaha. It's a beautiful summer night here. Before that, I'm going to get it ready. I'll inject it. I'm going to not do much trimming on the pork butt itself. It's much different than a brisket in terms of trimmings, but I'm going to take you in and walk you through how I prep that pork butt. It'll sit in the refrigerator for a couple hours and then I'll begin to smoke. Some of you have written to me on my email and have asked what's the basics in terms of starting up the smoker process itself, and I realized I hadn't walked you through that in the past. I use Kingsford primarily for all of my smoking. I haven't done any lump charcoal. I find that with Kingsford, at least, I get a very steady, consistent heat source. Temperature stays the same. The one thing I will do is I use the smaller Weber. I've got a water pan that comes with that fits into the middle section of the Weber. The Weber comes, of course, in 3 sections. I always line the interior of the water pan with foil. The foil doesn't have any impact on the cooking process, the heat retention, anything of that nature. But what it will do, and why I like it, is because it makes the cleanup after your smoke is completed a whole lot better. Just take the aluminum foil off and throw that away, and with a little bit of scrubbing out of your water pan itself, it's down to nothing. I'm going to fill this tonight with about 3/4 up to the top here with water. Now what that will do is that will allow me to maintain a very steady heat during the course of the smoke. When I do the butt, just like a brisket, just like chicken, the key is to keep your heat steady and slow and low. And so my target temperature during my cook is 225 to 240 degrees. I want to get my internal temperature of the pork butt up to about 201 to 203 degrees. And that's going to take a long time to do that when you're cooking it at 225 to 240 degrees. What I'll do is about a half hour before my cook, I'm going to take the pork butt out of the refrigerator, put it on the kitchen counter. Then I'm going to come outside here. I'm going to take my chimney starter, which I already have loaded up for you with charcoal. In the bottom of that, I have a newspaper, 5 pages of newspaper that I've rolled up. That's going to be my ignition source. You'll see these holes on the side of the chimney starter itself, and what these holes do is I'll light the paper underneath the chimney starter. That's going to generate the heat. The charcoal briquettes with Kingsford really is a heat-oriented source. When I have all the charcoals lit, I'm going to know, because this top layer here that we have of the charcoal is going to be all ashen, and the rest of them will be very well lit. And then what I'll do is I will go ahead and I will dump the charcoal chimney starter into my fire ring here in the Weber. Allow that to go probably long enough to get the grill temperature up to about 210, 225 degrees. As I do that, after I empty the chimney starter into the fire ring, I'm using 2 woods tonight. I'm using hickory and I'm using cherry. And I use the chunks of wood. Some folks I know use longer semi-logs. Sometimes people use the smaller, much smaller chunks, almost like beads of wood. I've found that with the chunks of wood, you're going to get steady temperature. It'll increase, of course, as the wood begins to ignite. But you also get a real good smoke, a real good aroma early in the cook, which is exactly what you want to help build up the bark on the exterior of that pork butt itself. After I've got the wood into the fire ring and the chimney starter poured in, I'm going to put the middle section onto the base of the Weber itself. I'm going to put the grill on so the grill can get warm. And then I'm going to put the top in. Now, you're going to see on the top, I've got a vent here on the top and on the other side I've got a temperature gauge. Now for those of you that have smoked meat, you figure this out, but for those of you that haven't, don't trust this temperature gauge here with Weber or any other brand of a smoker. What I've discovered is that the temperature that you're reading here on the temperature gauge is about 40 to 50 degrees less than what you have at the actual level of the grill where the meat is located. I always put the top on so that the vent is on the back opposite the door. The door on the middle section I'll use to add additional charcoal during the cook, add additional water as the water boils off. And the Weber of course comes with two grills. This is the one grill that I'm going to use tonight. The grill rack itself, that'll go up on the top level of the second section of the Weber. You're wondering, what about temperature? How do you maintain temperature? If you're 40 to 50 degrees off on your temperature gauge on the lid of the grill, how do you know what your temperature is? I use what's called a Maverick remote transmitter. It comes with two units. It's the transmitter, which has two temperature prongs. One actually attaches to the grill surface itself. That way you can get a very good reading on the grill temperature. The other probe or temperature probe has about a 4-inch temperature probe that you insert into the meat, and that'll give you your steady increase of what the internal temperature of the meat is. And then it comes with a receiver, and I can take that receiver all the way through my house. I can set alarms on it so that if the grill temperature, for example tonight, when I'm sleeping, if the grill temperature, I'll set it for 205. If for whatever reason the grill temperature goes below 205, the alarm will go off. That'll be my cue to get up, put some more charcoal in, possibly put some more wood in. You've seen the William Jewell shirt before. I always try and wear a shirt on these videos, so to give a shout out to something that's important to me. My youngest daughter went to William Jewell, and this is a shout out to her. The other thing I have is my Minnesota Twins hat. I'm a fan of the Minnesota Twins baseball team. One thing, folks, that I've always done in hats, and I'm trying to walk a little closer so you can see, in the inside of the brim here, I've always written, you know, what it was, what was the event. And sometimes on my smokes, when I've smoked in some of the tournaments that I've done, I have a hat that I'll put in what the date was. And when you get as old as I am, sometimes you don't remember things very well. But I've got in here, I wore this hat for the first time in the American League Divisional Series on April 2nd and April 4th of 2006. Went to the Metrodome in Minneapolis on that date with my son Patrick, and you're going to see there's a lot of other entries here. The latest one is 2012, October 2nd, 2012. That was the season-ending game, and if you're a history buff, it was the last game that the Minnesota Twins played in the Metrodome, and Patrick and I went up to see the Twins in the finale at the Metrodome. So just a little side that you might want to do yourself. I find it kind of interesting, kind of handy. Go back down memory lane a little bit as you get as old as we are. If you have any questions about barbecue or smoking meat, things like that, I have people email me. My email address is Denny, D-E-N-N-Y, at Lee, L-E-E, lawoffice.com. I try and answer all those emails within a couple days, as I know that some of you would like some answers. And matter of fact, one of the issues that I talked about tonight in terms of setting up the grill came from one of your email questions. So thank you for watching our videos as I continue to smoke different kind of meats. Don't know it all, I'm learning, and if you ask a question and I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you. I'm going to go right now. We're going to go inside and begin to prepare the pork butt. With regard to the, I'm going to inject it. I'm going to use my rub on the entire external part of the pork butt. I'm going to do something different this time. Again, I did it last time and it worked really good for maintaining the moisture of the meat. I'm going to layer the top of the pork butt that I will put on the grill that you'll see with about 2 pounds of bacon slices. And that'll darken up really good with regard to the creation of the crust during the smoking process. And it's also really good to eat after the smoke is done. But more importantly, from the smoke standpoint, it really helps retain the moisture of that meat. So I'll be back in a minute and we'll walk you through the pork butt.